Hi everybody, I'm David Lisot here at the Pennsylvania Association of Numismatists Coin Convention. It's October 30th, 2021. I'm speaking with Don Carlucci, who's been instrumental with the PAN group from the beginning. Don, thank you for being here. And tell me, why do you hold this convention?
We put it on for a variety of reasons. Way back when, in 1978, they were going to sell the Carnegie Museum Collection. A gentleman by the name of Samson Paglia. Sam actually came from the island of Hawaii. He worked at Children's Hospital. He was a member of the Western Pennsylvania Numismatic Society, like I was a member. He approached me, a fellow by the name of reminisce. There was Gerald Tudlow, and there was an old-time Western Pennsylvania dealer that he approached. He was looking for 5 of us to start a Pennsylvania Association of Numismatists. This organization was to be founded to protect the Carnegie Museum Collection, which was the second greatest collection in the country at the time. It was put together by the industrialists like Andrew Carnegie and the rest of them back in the late 1890s, the Gilded Age, when Pittsburgh was the powerhouse as far as manufacturing was concerned and mining was concerned for the whole country. In fact, the steel out of Pittsburgh is probably what won the Second World War. In any event, what happened, the Western Pennsylvania Numismatic Society was the ones were the curators of this collection. It wasn't working out, and the Carnegie wanted to get rid of the coins. They didn't have a curator. They were more interested basically in sticks and stones and dinosaur bones, things that they knew about. They knew nothing about numismatics. So the coins and medals were eventually sold. They were sold in London. The PAN organization, there was only 13 clubs in Western Pennsylvania belonged to the association when it started out. We tried to have coin shows. We tried to say we were a state organization, but it wasn't working. Along the way, they made me the president of the organization. So what I tried to do as president, I wanted to take PAN from the Ohio line to the Delaware River. So I started out, there was a group of us that were going to attend the Central Pennsylvania Numismatic Association show in Lancaster. There were many people from back in Pittsburgh that were going to come with me. I thought I would have to rent a bus to get everyone there. As it turned out, the only one that came with me was Ray Rennick, a fellow collector. When we went to that show, a gentleman by the name of John Eshbach was running the Central Pennsylvania Numismatic Association. It was unbelievable. He had everybody from Greensburg cleared into Philadelphia as members of the Central Pennsylvania Numismatic Association. They had a show comparable to our present-day PAN show. They had exhibits, world-class exhibits, A&A type exhibits. They had a banquet, they had speakers, they had it all. We had 13 clubs back in Western Pennsylvania. We had a show that was more like a trade show than a real convention. When it came my turn to stand up and speak for PAN, I did the best I could. I talked about PAN, I talked about my desire to get the show across the state, and there was no response from the audience. So I just told everyone, thank you for listening. I went and I sat down next to my buddy Ray, and I said, Ray, I don't think it worked. I don't think I did very well. I said, I did the best I could. But I said, these guys have it. I said, what John Eshbach's doing here is unbelievable. It's incredible. So I was heading back to my room. I was staying at the hotel. I believe it was the American Host Resorts where that show was held. I was heading back to my room, and Ray had met up with his wife. They were going back to their room. Somebody came behind me and grabbed me by the shoulder. Here was John Eshbach. He said, fellow, you have a good idea. Pennsylvania deserves a good state organization. He said, I'm going to talk to my people. And I said, well, thank you very much. Thank you for listening. And I really and truly thought at the time that he was just trying to be nice, just trying to be kind, because I didn't think my presentation really went over very well. And I didn't know if anybody was even interested. About a month later, I got a phone call. Here was John Eshbach. I was sitting in my office. He said, I talked to my people. He said, the Central Pennsylvania Numismatic Association wants to join PAN. I about fell out of my chair. It was almost, the only way I could explain it, it was like a minnow swallowing a whale. When they came on board, that's what made the Pennsylvania Association. It wasn't me, it wasn't my people from back here in Western Pennsylvania. All credit needs to be going to John Eshbach and guys like Jerry Cockle and guys like Dick Duncan. They turned this into a real show. They showed us how to exhibit. They showed us how to bring in speakers. They showed us how to have a banquet. So now today, with that as a background, and I needed to give credit where credit's due, the show's doing very well. We have good people. Monetarily, this is our biggest show. We're close to $70,000, which is doing quite well for a show. We're literally in the original days, the days when when it was being formed, we were taking money out of our own pockets to make it work. Now today, it's well-founded. We have great exhibits. We have a great banquet. We have great speakers. And we have great people like David Lisot to come and listen to people like myself.
And what got you involved in numismatics?
Well, the way I got involved, when I was 9 years old, my mother sent me to a grocery store. There was a Russian immigrant that ran the store. Most of the time he was drunk from excess drinking. I bought a loaf of Italian bread and I bought, I think it was a pound of jumbo. Some kind of, some kind of meat, some kind of bread, whatever my mom wanted. Right. Yeah. Well, this was not an Italian market, so we didn't get into that kind of thing. He liked kielbasa. That was his specialty. But anyway, he gave me change. I had given him a dollar bill. Back then, a loaf of bread was 15 cents. The jumbo was like 25 or 30 cents a pound. I gave him a dollar, and with the change he gave me a copper coin that didn't have Lincoln's picture on it. It had a representation of an Indian. And I looked at this and I figured, well, he was drunk. He found this someplace and he's just giving it to me and he's passing it off as a cent. But when I turned it over, it did say 1 cent. So I said, well, wow, what the heck could this be? In my local library was Springdale Junior High School. They had a library. They had coin books. The coin book that they had was not the red book or even the blue book. It was just a very primitive type thing that had different coins in. And lo and behold, it started out with Indian head pennies. Not the large cents, or the half cents, or the 2-cent pieces, but it started with this is how primitive the book was in speaking terms of books, general books of coins. And I took a look and I says, oh my God, it's a 1909 Indian head cent. So I kept the cent. I was going to try to get rid of it, but I kept it. And then as I was looking through the book, I went back to the library. I saw buffalo nickels. Then I saw Morgan dollars, Morgan half dollars. I got to see Mercury dimes, standing Liberty quarters, and I was hooked. Whenever I went to the store or when I went to the bank, I kept looking for these coins and change. So then the next thing I did, there was a guy that had a hobby shop in the little town of New Kensington. I went up there and I started buying the blue books. And this is where you got the coins and you put them in the book and you tried to complete the collection. My Lincoln cents I did pretty good, but I never got the cherries. I never got the 09S VDB, the 14D, the 31S. These coins I got later, but I had to buy them. And so I became a collector. I joined a local coin club called the Allegheny Kiski Numismatic Society. They no longer exist. And then the guys from that club talked about the Western Pennsylvania Numismatic Society, which was the second oldest coin club in the country. So I wanted to join that, and I joined that. I became a member. And then at that coin organization in 1978 is when Sam Paglia approached me. And this is how I got in coins. It was just a slow process. It was getting that Indian head cent in change from a man who I think had doped me.
And what year was that?
It would have been in 1950. 1950, yeah.
And how old are you now?
80.
And what's the ride been like?
It's been an interesting, very educational ride. And the best part about it's not the coins I have, not the medals I have or the plaques. I like the artwork of the designers. That's my specialty. I have the plaques, I have the drawings and so forth. But what's best about the entire collecting field, as far as I'm concerned, is the friends you meet and the relationships you develop. They last a lifetime. Someday the coins will be gone, and it go on to my children, the collection will be gone, but the friends will remain.
Are there others in your family that are involved in numismatics?
I have a daughter, a granddaughter, and my son right now, believe it or not, is becoming very interested. So, yeah, I'm hoping to pass it on. I want to give him the collection. I don't want to sell it.
What do you think about all the changes that have taken place in the numismatic hobby?
That's a double-edged sword from his point of view. I came from a long time ago. I would pick up a coin with my magnifying glass. I could determine if it was good, very good, fine, extra fine, about uncirculated, or BU. I always liked the brilliant uncirculated coins because of the beauty of the coins. Not so much about the intrinsic value or the market value, but just the beauty of the coins. My specialty is actually commemorative half dollars because of how beautiful they are. So, getting into the grading, I could live without it, but I'll tell you where it's good. People today are paying a whole lot of money for rare coins. Some of them are coming up with counterfeits with the coins they're buying. They're buying coins, maybe a $10,000 coin that they could get for $5,000. There's no bargains in this market or any other market. So with what grading has done, they pretty much tell the novice that the coin is real, it's genuine, and it's worth the money you're paying. So I would have to say overall, the grading services are a good thing. They brought, if nothing else, they brought honesty and integrity to the market.
Please share with me some other stories about numismatics or your life.
Well, first of all, I'm still working. I go to work every day. I get up 4:30 every morning. My participation in the hobby, the pan show for me, is like an Olympic event. I set the show up, I load the truck, I set the show up, and tonight I'll be here to take the show down. I probably won't get in bed till midnight. So that's my participation with the pan show, and it's always been that way. In the old days when we started out, I would set the whole show up in my Dodge Caravan. We had 30 dealers, 30 cases, 30 lights. I could set the show up in less than a half an hour. I just had to know where everybody was sitting, or setting up, I should say. Today, to do this particular show, we have over 250 cases. We needed 2 box trucks to do this particular show. And then we had the lights. And then we had to set up the exhibit area. It takes us approximately 8 hours to set this particular show up.
And why should people get involved in numismatics?
The best thing is like what I said to you before, the friendships you make, and plus the knowledge. This is like a free history lesson or a free economics lesson. It's a type of thing, if you're really into it, it could be worthwhile from the point of view, it could be very lucrative if you want it to be, with the knowledge that you gain.
You've been involved with a lot of numismatic engravers. Tell me some of the stories.
I'm very close to the engravers from the United States Mint, starting back with Gilroy Roberts. I have a lot of his original pieces. Frank Gasparo with his medal, the John Wayne medal. That was the greatest selling or biggest selling medal in mint history, with John Wayne American on the front and John Wayne on horseback in the back chasing the bad guys. Close to John Mercanti, close to, in this particular show, I brought in Don Everhart. He did my Rachel Carson medal, which was the A&A medal last year. That was my design. In the Pan Journal, I wrote the story about Rachel Carson. Rachel Carson was probably the most influential and the most important lady of the 20th century. People talk about Rosa Parks, which was a great lady. She's the one that actually instigated or started the civil rights movement. And naturally, Susan B. Anthony with women's suffrage, the right for women to vote. And then you had to go into Eleanor Roosevelt. But what Rachel Carson did with her book, Silent Spring, testifying before Congress when she was dying from cancer, she had a wig on her head that didn't even fit. She was standing there, dying from cancer, with a cane in her hand. The politicians, the chemical industry, everybody was against her. And basically her message was, with all the knowledge we have, why are we destroying life, all forms of life, with these hazardous chemicals that are going into the environment? In 1950, you had less than 500 pairs of mating American bald eagles. Our national symbol was going away. The eagle became an endangered species. Today, with the elimination of DDT and the other hazardous chemicals, the eagle's back. She brought back our national symbol. She brought back the clean air, the clean waters, the environment that we live in. What she left for society is still going on today. It's still very important. And this is the kind of thing that I'm involved in too, the preservation of the environment. I'm not a political person, I don't want to be. I don't want to argue with anyone. But what she did, she had to be the most important person of the 20th century. Right now, that medal was made for the ANA. What I'm trying to do, there's a new series of quarters coming out from the United States Mint, important women in the American society. I believe the first lady was Maya Angelou, was on one of these quarters coming out. And the second one was Sally Ride, another lady that there's an Indian lady, I forget her name. She's very important with what she did. And then there was Anna May Wong, a Chinese movie actress from back in the 1930s. Adam Peets, the engraver at the time, did a lot of her pieces. She's one of the first 5 also. What I've done to the United States Mint, and I don't know if they're going to follow my lead, I recommended Rachel Carson. And what I did, I sent them the story I had written for the Pan Journal, the Clarion. And hopefully, they're going to do this for the next 5 years. Hopefully, Rachel Carson face will become on a state quarter because she needs to be remembered like all these other ladies. They're supposed to be very prominent in American history. So I guess I needed to say that too. There's a lot that I do that I'm involved with Coin, almost in a quiet fashion. I just do things just to do it. I don't do it for any kind of recognition. And me sitting here today actually makes me nervous. And that's a fact.
Please share some other things about your life.
I don't know, David, if you remember. I'll tell you another. I could tell you stories to midnight. But the other thing I can tell you, you probably don't remember. There was a Pittsburgh show where I first met you.
Now I remember. Don, you were in the 1989 Pittsburgh Numismatic Theater presentations. I videotaped one of your lectures. It was one of the very first ones I ever did.
And what I was doing then, I was talking about John Mercanti. And I wanted John Mercanti to become the chief engraver of the United States Mint. John's a very close friend of mine. And that did happen over time. He finally became, I believe, was the 12th chief engraver. And at the time I talked about another medal that I was very influential with getting the design. It was George Washington on the obverse in the 3 rivers, the Allegheny, the Monongahela, and the Ohio River, the point in Pittsburgh. I had John Mercanti design it for that ANA convention in 1989 that came to Pittsburgh. Yeah. So, like I say, there's just a lot of things that I've done in the background that probably nobody knows about it, or nobody would even want to know. But it's just, you know, it's the kind of thing. It's more. I'm just a collector. You know, I can't say that enough.
Don, how would you like to be remembered?
Basically, I guess as a collector. because I'm a collector. I'm not a dealer. I'm not in it to make money. I just enjoy the hunt, I guess. To me, it's more important finding that piece that I'm interested in than buying a coin and trying to sell it at a profit. So if you could remember me as a collector, that'd be fine. And I'm just so happy you're here. I mean that. You do a hell of a job, man. I mean that. It's just a great job. Now here, let me turn to the table. What do you collect?
I'm just pleased to be here with Don Carlucci. I do remember in 1989.
1989.
It was the Pittsburgh A&A.
Right.
And it was one of my first big travels to a coin show. And I think John Burns was...
John Burns, yeah, was very instrumental.
Was the master of ceremonies
Exactly.
for the people that were doing the show, the intros for the lecture series. John's a great man, and they now have a library devoted to him.
That's correct, yes.
And you all are, Pan is responsible for maintaining it.
We maintain it, we set it up, we take it down every show in John's memory. Great.
And now he's turning the tides on me and having me get a bit of information about myself. I've always collected world coins. I particularly liked South American. My favorites are the Chilean Condor, 5 pesos from 1927. I like the 1885 peseta of Peru and all kinds of other coins. And I'm now dabbling in learning a little bit about ancients. And the greatest thing is that I've been able to collect collectors. I've been able to collect speakers that know about coins, and I've been able to be instrumental in getting them onto tape. And now I've got a relationship with the Numismatic portal that everything that I've created in the past, and they're interested in things that I create in the future to be on the portal. So we've got a shot at history, Don.
There you go. When I came here to the show today, I just thought I'd be working, taking it down. I didn't think I'd become a part of history, but thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all.
Yeah.